Mike, welcome to Beyond the Boardroom. I am very excited to pick your brain about all things PI. I was thinking of how to introduce you, so that the audience understand who you are and really like your skills and your talents and all these things. I think the way to sum it up in the simplest form is that I would describe you as the absolute creme de la creme of the private investigation world. Not only are you yourself a talented private investigator, but you run an entire massive company leading private investigators, and you're on all these forums and all these associations of private investigators. So I'm just going to let you describe what it is that you do.
Okay, so thank you actually for being on this podcast, this opportunity. So I consider myself a professional international investigator. That's what I would consider myself, moving away from the term private investigator, because when you hear the term private investigator, most people assume Raymax, newspapers with holes in, eating donuts in the back of a car, watching someone secretly. So the role of an investigator has changed since when I started to what it is now. And that, if you were to say, when someone says to me, what do you do? I'll say, I'm an international investigator, a professional international investigator, or a professional investigator. Still the term PI, but moving from private to professional.
Wow, you're an investigator, right? So
in the private sector.
In the private sector. So, I was having a little laugh with my husband on the way here because I was like, Mike probably knows what we're talking about right now. Careful what you say. Mike probably knows what I had for breakfast. Mike knows how much we've got on our bank accounts. Mike knows exactly what emails I've sent, how I've prepared for this podcast, everything about our lives and so on. That's probably an exaggeration, isn't it? But if you wanted to know,
that's a huge exaggeration.
You probably could.
I mean, look, you need a reason. You need, a case is mounted for a purpose and a reason, and then we kick it off that way. So we wouldn't be looking at your emails and your bank accounts, Aleksandra. That you can't really do that in the private sector.
We'll get to what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is it necessary then to hire someone such as yourself?
Okay, so we are what we call a distress purchase. So you don't book us like you book a holiday for next year or anything like that. So there has to be an event in your life where you require understanding what happened, how it happened, and trying to connect those historical dots. Usually you're involved in a situation where you've got no clarity, and that could be a private person situation, matrimonial, for example. You've been scammed, you've been defrauded by someone, either online, virtually, or one of someone you do business with. So there's an event that's happened and you need to try and connect the dots. That's where we come in.
Okay. So you want to connect the dots? We call you, pick up the phone and you connect the dots. So what kind of a person then typically hires? We
generally work for three groups. The legal teams, so lawyers representing individuals who have had issues or who require intelligence or investigative support, litigation support. Corporates that have ongoing issues, and that could be anything from screening employees that start a new position, doing KYC and DD on business checks and mergers. Know your client, KYC. That's quite a big thing to do at the moment in terms of if you're doing business with a third party, you need to know who you're working for or who you're doing business with and making sure there's no red flags there. So those are consented checks that we would do for corporates. And then the third group, which can sometimes be the most interesting group, are family offices. And family offices cover private individuals, but private individuals of a certain, let's say mid-stroke high net worth who have independent family offices managing their family.
Oh, okay. So legal, lawyers, corporate, and then
family offices, which cover private individuals as well. Yeah, so those are the three groups.
Okay. Okay. Typically, and probably I'm leaning more towards the private individuals here, what is the emotional state of these clients when they come to you? What's the most typical? Is it distressed? Is it curious? Is it vindictive, revenge? What's the main sort of vibe you get on an emotional level?
There is, when it's someone personal, if it's a business transaction, it's very black and white, okay? You've got a reason to hire us and we're going to uncover those facts and present a report. When it's family situation, then there is emotion that can cloud judgment. And there is sometimes not only cloud judgment on the client side, but cloud judgment in terms of proportionality, in terms of how far do you keep going. Because hiring an investigator can sometimes be addictive. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, actually.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
If you believe that someone in your trusted circle is behaving inappropriately, and that doesn't necessarily mean an affair or anything like that. It could be, anything that they shouldn't be doing. And you decide to contact an investigator to conduct a period of surveillance, for example, to confirm or deny whether there's been any inappropriate behaviour. That power in terms of monitoring a third party and knowing where they're going, who they're meeting, and what they're doing, to the right type of client who has maybe a addictive personality, because a lot of the higher net worth individuals are in those positions because they are motivated to succeed, can on occasion, and I'm not saying this as a blanket statement, but can on occasion become addicted to the information. And
100%. Especially if you've got someone a little bit controlling, and successful people like to control the outcome, which determines more success. So yes, I can see that actually.
So this puts the balance on the professional investigator to do what's proportionate and legitimate to the case.
We're gonna get to morals. We're gonna get to morals.
Okay.
Things. But yes, so you've got this. There is the type of person that will most likely come to you, and there are intentions and emotional triggers, especially on the private side. And you're saying on the corporate side, it's much more black and white. We just want to know facts here. It's not personal. It's just more facts.
And yes, unless you have a corporate, which we've done many of these. Two scenarios. One is when individuals of, say, senior management are on gardening leave and they're running a group of clients, generally in the fund world where senior managers are running fund money, and they're on gardening leave and they may poach clients to another competitor. There can be some emotion in there because that's a position of power. Or an internal insider threat. Someone stealing company secrets, someone trying to damage the brand. The board, depending on the company, can become a little bit, we want to go after this individual. We need to know who, why, how, and who's communicating, what are the next steps, and what can we do? So they'll consult their legal teams, they'll consult their investigation and intelligence teams and work out a strategy in terms of getting a solution. So there's a few moving parts, and that always happens in the journey of an investigation.
Okay. So what won't you legally take on?
So we'll take anything that's legal. So as long as we're legally allowed to do it. What you can't do. And
let me rephrase.
Sorry.
What won't you take on? What sort of cases will you not touch?
So we have an onboarding process, and any client that comes to us will need to do our usual KYC, like I said to you before, knowing who we're working for, the reasons why. We need to have a legitimate interest to investigate. You can't just say to me, "Hey, Mike, I want you to follow that person there for a month." Why? I need to know why, what you're trying to achieve, what are we doing this, what's the purpose, what's the intent, and I need to make sure that we are providing proportionate investigative tools to achieve your objective. I need to confirm really whether you've got a case or not, and this isn't stalking or harassment, right?
Wow, so you really have a proven case that you guys will say, right, that's fair,
Yeah, we would have the consultation, we understand what the reasons are, we will provide the tools and the methods. It may not be surveillance is the tool. It may be that we can do alternative research to provide you the results that you need. So we would onboard you properly. Things that we don't do, misconceptions. Can you hack someone's phone? I want to go into someone's bank account. I want to go and see everyone's emails. Can you look at their WhatsApp messages? All these things, when a client asks you that at the first time, at the first question, I know that this client isn't really clear in what they need. So my question is, what are you trying to achieve? So right. I want all the WhatsApp messages my husband sent for the last month. Well, what is the purpose? What are you trying to achieve? Oh, you want to know whether he's having an inappropriate relationship. Okay, well, going into his WhatsApp message is 1, illegal. 2, probably may not give you the information, right? It may not give you the answers that you need. So let me, as your professional investigator, tell you the steps that we can do legally, ethically.
We're going to get to cheating.
Sure. Oh, okay.
I want to know
right,
that I have a problem, but I want to know. I want to know about that particular one. But okay, so you have to onboard them properly. You've got to know there's a case, then you take it on.
Yeah.
So for a private individual who wants to know something, let's just say there is some cheating. Would it be legal for me or anyone else watching to say, right, I would like to hire you to investigate this potential case of cheating? Is that legal?
It's definitely legal. It needs to be proportionate. So you couldn't say to me, hey, Mike, can you follow my husband for the next 5 years or the next 6 months just to see that he's put 1 foot wrong?
Yeah.
It's disproportionate to the aim, right? You know, if you're saying, oh, my husband's coming back home on a Tuesday and Thursday night regularly from this work drinks, he's always got work drinks, or he's playing.
Suspicious.
He's playing snooker every Thursday. He's never plays snooker. Where's that come from? Or his routine's changed.
He's suddenly dressing differently. He looks a bit better. He's using perfume. He's using that.
Exactly. Then you're thinking, there's something not quite right here. That's my legitimate interest to investigate.
I understand. Okay, so we're going to step a little bit away from that and just into being a private, or how you say, international investigator.
Right.
So do you have to have certain skills? Like, how do you determine whether someone, and you hire these investigators. So what skills do you need in terms of personality skills and education? Like, how do you even become one?
Actually, right. Again, that role has changed. When I started in the industry, most people were either ex-military, ex-police,
ex-military. Okay.
Yeah, ex-intelligence.
Okay.
And whilst there is that still in the market, we've got a lot of younger investigators that are interested, or younger individuals that are interested in a career in private professional investigation work. So there's Skills for Justice and MVQ Level 3 courses out now that never were.
What's MVQ level?
It's a relatively, let's say, it's an introductory course to the world of private investigation.
Okay, so there's a course that you can actually do.
Yeah, you can actually attend now and do that and become qualified. I'll tell you one thing, Aleksandra, there's no licensing for the investigation in the UK at the moment. There's no legal license to practice, which is pretty strange.
Interesting.
The UK is one of the oldest countries that have a private investigation world, let's say.
How has it lasted so long without a license?
So we are self-regulated. So I'm the president of the Association of British Investigators, which is a group of professional investigators in the UK and overseas, actually, and we are self-regulated. So in order to become a member of this association, you need to have a clear criminal record check. There's you need to be clear of there's credit, there's couple of references, you need to have indemnity and insurance. So there's a whole
character check and background checks and things.
There's a whole onboarding process, and those investigators, some 400 that represent the association, are all found on the website. So if anyone needed an investigator, let's say locally in a certain jurisdiction, you could find one there that's been vetted and checked.
Yes.
So there is no license. So and you're asking me about what skills you need. Great question. So now we've got individuals coming into the market with journalist type skills, banking skills, understanding the legal system. So the role of an investigator is changing and changed, and it will continue to change.
What about like spy skills or manipulation skills, or like, whether you're a good communicator or not, all those sort of things. I mean, journalists, that's probably communication.
Yeah, communication, reading people, knowing how to ask a line of questioning if you're taking an interview, for example. Those skills can be pretty useful. Languages, a lot of people overlook that. Speaking more than one language, because we are in a small, an ever-reducing global landscape. Lots of people have more than one footprint around the world nowadays, right? Especially with access to global data, social media, and whatever else. So a lot of the individuals we investigate have international connections, and speaking and understanding foreign cultures, languages, processes, what you can and can't do is very important as well to become a well-rounded investigator, as well as understanding how to navigate databases, intelligence gathering, field work. There's quite a lot of moving parts. So
Yeah, of course, because you are global, and you've got these investigators all around the world, and you can tap into your resources wherever it is, in whichever countries. I won't name any, but you want to tap in and know that they know how to behave in that country and not stick out like a sore thumb and draw attention to themselves and then blow the case, right? I mean, it's part of it.
yeah, if you're actively on the ground and you're working in a foreign jurisdiction, you'd need to buddy up with local expertise.
Oh, okay. So it's legal. There are certain skills that you would need to have. So earlier, before the podcast, we touched a little bit on AI and that whole side of things. Because obviously AI is now massive. So can someone like yourself, an investigator, track someone's movements just using social media and public data and a combination of AI? Is that enough?
It's that enough. So everyone now has two reputations. We've got this reputation, your physical reputation, and you have your online footprint, your online reputation.
Wow, that's scary thinking about it like that.
You need to protect both, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, especially if you are online and you either conduct your business or you're active, you need to protect both those reputations.
Okay.
So, but there's a caveat. You can also pretend to be whoever you want online as well. So for an investigator, we're very, very eyes wide open in terms of when we're looking at available open source data. There are numerous tools out there that we use to scrape and analyze online footprint. Whether you can just use AI on its own at the moment, I'm an old school investigator, right? Whilst we leverage the tools that are out there, and those tools are evolving all the time.
Rapidly.
And some of the younger guys in the team are a lot more skilled and try and close cases from their desks. So every time I'm in my office, I say, you cannot close a case just by sitting at your machine. So whilst you believe you may have found everything, get out on the street. Go and do the covert work. Go and do the interviews. Go and do those inquiries.
There's more to it. Yeah.
Well, you've done a complete check. You haven't just scraped the data that you've found, put together the report, and come to a conclusion. Go and speak to neighbours. Go and do some field stuff. 'Cause that's where you're going to get real
You're
source
right.
data.
It's only part of the picture. I mean, we know even for ourselves, there's not the full picture of who you are online. There is who you actually are offline.
You're right. And the younger generation coming in are leaning more towards online desktop tools only. And I see that shift. When I started, where there was no AI, no online, there was hardly any databases, to be honest with you. A lot of we had to go to the libraries and microfiche and look for registries, physically taking hours and hours and hours looking through small bits of data to try and find whatever we was looking for. Whereas now it's a millisecond. So I think that's going to change even more.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. So I've got my phone. So this has been debated about for a long time, but is your phone actually tracking what you're saying? I mean, there's all these different companies and things that might be tapping into this technology and then feeding you the ads off the back of what they hear, your Alexa, your whatever, your Google Nest, whatever it is that you're using. Are these devices listening to us and then feeding back the ads? And can it then be used in a corrupt way saying, by the way, can you guys say anytime they mention this or they talk about this, give me that information? Because that's quite sinister and dark, isn't it? That's like having someone in your house spying on you.
Okay, that's a brilliant question, and I get asked this quite a lot.
Okay.
The short answer is yes. Okay, but the long answer, there are some steps through this process.
Okay. So we're being spied on, basically. Yes.
So you use the word spied. Okay,
well,
and that's where this is differentiated. So when you download an app from whether it's the App Store, Google Play, wherever you're downloading your apps from, there are some non-consensual and consensual privacy policies that you click.
No one's reading that.
No, and some of that does collect location data, information data, some things that you put in, you consent to giving your email, you consent to sharing your analytics, for example, how you're using your device and how you're interacting on that particular app. And that information is shared. This is where GDPR come in 2018 to protect the consumer against mass marketing that was going on there, unsolicited marketing emails and calls and whatever else.
Unsolicited.
So there are apps, numerous apps can track your location. But they need to. Some of them need to. And I'm going to give you the examples now. Deliveroo, Uber, any of the maps you use, they need to know where you are in order for you to use the service. So, if you are going to consent your location information to those types of apps, only do it whilst you're using the app. So you can highlight, select consent to share only whilst using the app, not always. You have always whilst using the app.
But are they listening to you?
Are they listening to you? Some may be. Some may listen. Okay, there are numerous platforms that can access the microphone, the camera.
But why are they? Do they really need to be listening to what I'm saying at home?
So unless you've consented,
I tell you, that's a grey,
your phone is listening to you.
naughty area. That one.
Your phone is listening to you all the time. Just say, "Hey Siri" to your phone now.
No, I don't.
But have you got it disabled, right? So, but what I'm saying to you is, it's listening to you. So it not to spy on you, but to make your life that you've chosen, that you think you've chosen with your device, easier. That's how you've got.
No, I understand that.
So,
yes,
and that's what it is. And people go, "Oh, your devices are spying on you." Okay. Using the word spying is where that's a third party trying to target and listen to what you're doing in your personal time without your consent.
Yes.
That's spying. So the apps and the phones and the technology and the use of, say, voice automated recognition and tools, I don't put that in the same category as spying.
But of course, the technology is there. So you will have people that try and take, a knife can be used, to cut something open, to slice an apple. It can also be used in knife one in the back. So
exactly, yeah. That is the great analogy, and that's the same thing.
And it's the same thing.
Should we ban knives?
Good point. Good point. However, so in the world that you're in, I mean, you might, obviously you wouldn't use sinister tactics like that, but there might be others that are using that against one of your clients. And in that case, you would have to come in and investigate and go, well, hang on a minute. Now you're tracking exactly what this person's saying in their private time and you're finding out information. And I mean, that could be seriously awful. Everything you say at home in the privacy of who you're talking about, what you're saying, your financial details, any investments you're making. I mean,
yeah. Look, if you've been targeted by a group, and that this happens, right? It
does happen.
Yeah. Dependent. Yeah. Depending on who the ultimate client is and their motivation, we've been called in to conduct technical sweeps. So what that means is, you go in with scanning equipment, and you do what's called a physical and a technical search of the office or the residential address, and you're checking for listening devices, foreign frequencies, bugs, as we call them, hidden cameras, anything that could have been installed by a third party. I mean, risks nowadays, these devices, if you just to Google bug or hidden camera or hidden microphone, they're so accessible. Years ago, it was you needed to be a secret MI5 agent to be able to deploy this kit years ago. Now you can go and buy these miniature bugs online. I
want my house swept. Listen, when I bought, I don't want it swept. I'm getting really paranoid now.
There was an article in the press.
Yeah.
Well, there was an article it was discussed in the news yesterday about landlords putting covert cameras in.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
right.
I did,
so we wrote something about that.
Yeah.
To spy on their tenants, and someone went to prison for it. So we're now in the top end rental property addresses. We are, before, let's say, I don't know, a family want to rent from overseas in London for a year or whatever else, we're going in to do a technical sweep to make sure that property is safe and secure. So
okay, so I'm going to ask you something. So we were in an Airbnb the other day, and we were just watching whatever, Mamma Mia or something like that, and then the Alexa device came on, and it was actually a child talked to us and was like making silly sounds, like whatever. So then my daughter talked back and was like, and that kid talked back. So there was a connection, a remote connection to the property that we were staying in. I mean, that can't be. I mean, we obviously raised it, but that's not legal. Surely.
No, that's you're that's the invasion of your privacy.
Yes,
right there. No, that's not. And you did raise it with Airbnb.
Yeah,
right?
we did.
Yeah,
we raised it with Airbnb.
You'd be surprised how common this really is. Now,
it's not right.
It's not right. It's not legal. It's not ethical. But you're going to have some owners who maybe have had their Airbnb properties trashed or had issues, right? That want to protect themselves. But also, what I've also found is, and it's usually in the sort of high net worth celebrity arena, where they're staying in top end hotels. People know that, let's say, for example, I know you've got the film festival or something big coming into town, and you're an investigative individual who wants to get some dirt or wants to get a story to try and make some money. They may stay in these nice hotels and put something in there. So check in, stay in the hotel, put something in, check out, and then in the hope that a celebrity will stay in this nice room.
Goodness, I'm never staying.
No, but no. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but but then you have some of these high net worth that will have their rooms swept. That is just part of their security protocol.
I want to have that done now. I have been considering, because I do feel uncomfortable going into a hotel, and it's my paranoid mind. I do sort of think, well, what if there's a camera in here? Well, there might be. It's not.
Well, yeah, there might be. And it's usually, some of the rooms you stay in, the top end rooms, Aleksandra, those
might be
that you don't know. I mean, I remember years ago. I won't mention the hotel. It's in central London. We were looking after some foreign dignitaries for a week, and in the room sweeping, we check all the rooms. One of these rooms provided laptops to their guests. This was a long time ago, but they had laptops in the room.
Yeah,
the laptop was open, and there was a whole email account open. So we checked.
Wow.
And it was someone super well known. And we emailed back saying, your laptop has been left. We're a security team. Your laptop has been left open. Don't worry, we've closed it down. And so any unauthorized third-party restriction, there's no risk. And this individual emailed back, thank you. And that was that. We didn't have any more. But if that was not us, let's say, for example, and a cleaner or a...
Yeah, you can sell that information.
Huge information. I mean, it was, all their personal details, all the communication between who this individual was and third parties. It was huge,
That is huge. That is
huge selling. This was...
blow up.
Blow up. It was over 10 years ago. But there you go. Those risks exist.
It's frightening. Okay, so we touched on this a little bit, but if let's say I wanted to hire someone just to find out if I'm being watched, can I do that? So I'm just worried that
you're being tracked, stalked, harassed, blackmailed, for example. Yeah, we do that. That would... There's a few lines of service there, so there'd be counter surveillance of a team that would work with you to make sure that you're not being watched, monitored. We will check your online footprint as well to see whether there's any third parties that are routinely monitoring you.
Monitoring, stalking. What about the trolls online that get out of hand? If you have one of those super trolly trolls that keeps spamming you and harassing you, that exists.
Look, again, it depends on the individual. It depends on the case, but there are certain steps you can take to block those, and the more in the public eye you are, the more risk you have
sadly,
of that. To be honest with you, and it's part and parcel of putting yourself out there, I'm afraid. Unless, of course, there's a blackmail issue, which is a criminal offence. So, for example, I'm going to do this if you don't do this. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be anything. So
any blackmail.
Blackmail. That is, we investigate those routinely. And that is where we try and connect the dots in terms of identifying the individual or third parties behind the attempt. And we'll either work with a legal team to get a cease and desist letter going on, or... What
about if a threat to your safety or something, I'm going to get you or something like that? That must happen a lot.
Threat to life, threat to safety.
Threat to your family.
Yeah, that happens again. Again, our response needs to be proportionate. If these individuals are open and they're not hiding, so their identities are open, then there's the authorities that will get involved and we can do that. If they're hiding, then there are other ways that we can try and connect the dots, but we're pushing for the social media companies to step up as well and do a little bit more. It can be, whilst there is some work going on, it can be the Wild West at times as well, where you can see what's going on online. There are bots that are being created just to
harass and torment people. So have you ever had a client lie to test or trick you? Have you ever had a situation where the side that's asked you to do something?
I'm going to I would say this statement
Okay.
now is everybody lies. Everybody lies.
Okay.
Think about that. And whenever you put your case across, everyone, I'm not saying they're lying for the right or wrong reasons, but everyone does. And whoever says they'd never lie is lying. So,
well, my grandmother used to say that white lies. She was, very Christian woman, and she used to confess in the church for hours and hours, even though she never did anything wrong. Literally wouldn't harm a fly. But she said, the time when it's okay to lie is a white lie to protect somebody. Or not everyone needs to know everything. If you then, because I'm so honorable, I want to tell the truth all the time. Well, actually, your truth might be so incredibly damaging and cause chaos and disrupt the whole world. So sometimes just gently
lie.
Yeah.
So a white lie is a lie or not a lie?
I think you've got to look at the greater picture. You can't be so. You've got to look at sometimes you've got to think about the greater benefit to everybody.
That wasn't my question.
Oh, it's a lie.
See, everybody lies, right?
Yeah, it's a lie.
So would a client put their case across in a particular way to make it look like we need to do what we need to do? Yes, but the skill is the investigator. The skill is the investigator in understanding the client requirement, going through the questioning, let's say, the onboarding, and getting to the truth. That's what a skilled investigator will do, and then providing the solution. We have, every week we have numerous crazy type inquiries that want to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and through that process, you end up understanding your position with a client.
I just love what you do. I love that because there's this whole thing about my truth. I actually really despise that term. What does my truth mean? There is the truth. Then there's how you frame it. Then there's how someone else frames their points of views, opinions. Some people have terrible memories. Some people are so obsessed with their point of view that they become skewed. They really believe their own truth. And I'm going to call it lie. So there's all of that mess up. But actually, when you investigate calmly and neutrally and sensibly, you uncover the truth.
Exactly. Well, the other thing an investigator does is report fact. So
love that. Love it. Fact.
This is fact. It's evidence, and we're backed with evidence.
Exactly.
You can't just put together a package of hearsay. It's going to get thrown out. So, we get the fact. So how can you get away from... Now, there could be circumstantial evidence. There could be... But you have to list that. You don't put that as a fact because you can't back it up with documented primary source evidence.
Yes. And you know what else? I feel like with a fact thing... that what people do, what they actually do, that's a fact. What they've done, their record, whether it's online record, whatever it is, that is a fact. That isn't, you can't dispute that. You did that. That is what happened. Whether you're a country, whether you're whatever, either you did something. And when people show you who they are through their actions or companies or even entire governments, you've got to pay attention to that and take it as fact, right?
The other thing, though, just to throw something completely different, is this whole thing called misinformation. So it's spreading third-party misinformation. Lies. So, but with a narrative, misinformation with a narrative in the wrong hands can be really dangerous because it's pursuing to say that information is true when it isn't.
Yes.
And on the back of this narrative campaign, for example, can create first and second phase people around that to believe this narrative that doesn't exist, and that's dangerous.
Extremely dangerous, and that's why I'm moving away from what people say and their narratives and their misinformation and their headlines, and it's like, what have you actually shown to be true? Like, what action have you done? Even as a country, it doesn't matter what you say and what you try and paint. It's like, what have you actually done? What's your credentials? And it's like a CV. Hopefully, it's like, what have you done step by step?
Yeah, exactly right. And we deal with that.
You deal with that. And
well, we try and peel the layers and try and get to the raw data.
I love that. I love facts and data. So has someone ever confronted you or your team, your employees when investigating? Have you been caught out, let's say? Very,
very rarely. And it does happen. Any investigator that says it doesn't happen is lying. But it does happen. And I tell you where the risk goes up. Generally, if there's two sides, there's always two sides to an investigation. And if both sides have defences and investigators working, and the information is being disclosed at some point, let's say in a court case, there could be, the risk goes up in terms of the subject becomes aware. Now there's an investigation going on. There's been documents that have been served. There's a report that's been exhibited. It becomes that's where the risk goes up. But again, a skilled investigator will take proportionate measures and do the right type of investigating during that process.
Cover their tracks.
Yeah.
Have you ever, or your team, had to pose as someone to get information? That's quite a James Bondy.
You can do, and again, yes, you can. Like, it depends. If you're knocking on someone's door and you need to find out some information, you're going to say, "Hey, I'm an investigator. I need to ask." People are going to close up. So it may be that you use what we call a cover story to interact with an individual or a third party, as long as you don't pretend to be someone that's real.
Okay, yeah.
Then
this is a real.
Yeah, you're impersonating someone official or something, an individual that you shouldn't. Then there's some laws against that. But you can be creative in your approaches.
Okay, so this one is more again for the private side of the individuals. When you're investigating, someone asks you for help and you're investigating another person, what is like obvious red flags, suspicious behavior that you might find in someone? Let's say if they cheating, or if they, what sort of red flags immediately jump out at you? In terms of
before, what for the person to look out for, or when we're following someone?
Yeah, when
we're investigating
when you're asked to investigate someone, what are like red flags that someone's doing something dodgy? Like, is there something that you quickly notice in maybe they covering up their tracks, or some sort of suspicious activity, immediate red flags that they're not quite right, or there's something a bit suspicious about them?
Again, if we're looking at a matrimonial situation and let's say the individual is in communication with their partner whilst the investigation is going on. So whilst the surveillance is going on, the individual, and we've had this quite regularly, where the individual will communicate with their partner saying, "I'm leaving work now," by a message.
Yes.
When really they're not. So those white lies that someone tells someone
red flag.
is a red flag, because why would you do that? Are you justifying, or I'm just in this meeting with X when you're not? You're at a different location. Why would you?
Yeah. Why are you hiding?
Why are you creating again a misinformation narrative to your partner, or hiding something? And that for us would think that's not quite right.
So misinformation is a massive red flag.
I think so. Yeah, because you're no reasons when there's no reason to lie and you lie, that for us is a concern.
There's always a reason.
There's always a reason to lie.
Oh, scary. Do people often regret what they find? When they ask you and then the truth comes out, or is it a sort of a yes? What's the most common?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that ranges. I've had clients that are emotionally invested and connected to understanding what's going on, because what we find out is going to change the direction of their path.
Gosh, fundamentally change course,
and not just for them. It could be third parties involved. There could be children, other family members, a situation. There could be. There's a whole list of. So we're in that. We're at the sharp end. We're there, uncovering exactly what's going on and reporting back the fact. And when we report, we can't hold back. We can't say, well, he didn't touch her there, or we didn't see them kiss, or they didn't. We have to be straight up front, and this is what's happened, and here's the proof. So, and when I say he, it could be she, right? So just so we're clear. Yeah. But so do clients say, some are their gut instinct, and they were right with their gut, and I suppose they are maybe, I don't have the word happy, but maybe satisfied that
they were right.
That they were right.
Their suspicions were right.
Yeah.
Okay. So just let's remain. We're on the cheating topic.
Sure.
So let's just stay here. So probably a lot, I suspect, a lot of the private individuals that come to you want to know, is my partner, husband, wife, whatever it is, cheating? Is that like a common thing, or a lot of people coming to you with that?
Yeah, I mean, yes. When you say is it common in the private sector?
In the private sector,
it's usually breach of trust. So, is this person that I trust doing something I suspect they are?
Okay.
Yes or no?
So if you feel suspicious, are they doing something? What do you then do to investigate if they are in fact cheating without showing
Yeah.
all your cards.
So before someone comes to us and has the sort of motivation to instruct an investigator, something must have happened, and more than once. Someone doesn't wake up one day and go, yeah, let me follow my partner for a bit. No, there's all these identifiers. Something doesn't add up. I've got a gut instinct. There's an emotional issue. There's something's gone on. And then they come to us. And then during that onboarding phase, I need to understand a little bit about the routine, and we ask some pretty straight questions just to uncover how we're going to best support.
You have to, yeah.
You have to dig, and then we will do what we do. Usually there's a suspicion. I believe it's someone from this circle, this club, sports club they're part of.
You kind of know who it might be.
Work staff person.
They've seen something on Instagram or
whatever. This person's always liking his post. Why with
or
a
at
heart?
work. It's normally at work or something like that.
Why?
Spending time together.
Exactly. Or going out for work drinks. What again?
I'll tell you, you're a useful contact to have just in case. I'm just putting up.
Yeah.
I told my husband on the way here, I was like, I got my...
Watch yourself.
Those trips abroad.
That's the other one.
You'll never know if I'm watching you.
That's emotional blackmail.
But it's good, so people can use those services if they suspect something. But then you could also have the other side, which is what we also touched on, the very controlling, paranoid person who just wants to I want to know your every move just in case because my pride couldn't handle it. If you dared cheat on me, or you're too attractive, you might do something, or someone might try with you, like a paranoia.
Yeah,
you must get a lot of that too.
Your behaviour when you're not with me, that's...
Yeah, what do you do when you're not with me?
Yeah, how do you conduct yourself?
Yeah.
The other ones that we've had is and this is going to sound a little bit weird, but it's not weird, it's just different. Pre-marital check. So generally it's in different cultures overseas where someone is of a certain standing is going to marry someone. She's him, he, her, whatever, and there's a bit that's not quite right, and they just want a full check just to make sure the partner I'm going to that's going to be introduced into my family is of the right moral everything. Look, you should know that if you're going to marry someone anyway. You shouldn't go to a third party professional to give you an independent opinion.
Yeah.
But some do. Some want that secondary. There must be.
Or maybe their families do as well. It's like a condition. And
there's a bit of doubt.
It's a difficult one, that one, because you kind of think, I would think if I found out, for example, that someone's, I would call it spying in that way, because why didn't you ask me what, you don't trust me? And then it's like, that's a red flag. Well, you're paranoid because you can't even get into a relationship normally, and you've got to start doing all this stuff.
Now, this is usually when they're in a relationship and they're about to marry.
They're about
so that's the next big massive step. There's a commitment here, generally linked to being part of a family. There's some
finances.
Assets.
It's
exactly
money.
Right.
It's money. All right, we're going to move into corporate. So we spoke about it. Companies do vet high profile employees. They do. They're going to hire someone, give them a massive salary. They're going to check who they are. And that's common and normal. Do they have to tell them, by the way, as part of the recruitment process, we're going to thoroughly check you?
So most companies do pre-employment screening, and it's consented. So the employee is fully, especially if they're in any professional services like finance, banking, law.
Politics,
yeah.
Okay, so they do a lot of...
So you would have, and I would recommend any company out there that's employing staff, and these can be quite cost effective, to conduct get a professional in to do the red flag check. The last thing you need, right, especially if you're open and you're dealing with, I don't know, everyone's got a reputation, and you take on someone with a checkered past that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
And a clever journalist finds something somewhere from wherever and puts it in. How damaging is that to your brand?
Extremely damaging. Yeah.
But if you knew from the beginning, you can take steps.
But also in politics, you think that they're always finding things on these people, and they're these big corporations, and some of their employees, that
white lies. White lies on the CV. There's that
white lies on the CV, but then they also, let's say they pass this, the CV's okay because they've done their credible things, but then they just do sinister things outside of work.
Again, it needs to be proportionate. So we do a thing called which is quite a relatively new tool called Social Media Check, right? And what it does is, with consent, it will screen. And I recommend everyone does this on themselves, right? It's screen.
I'm going to screen myself.
Screen. No, because movements change over periods of time. So it will screen all of your posts, all of your tweets, all of your likes, all of your comments to see whether there's any defamatory, politically maybe incorrect.
Social media check. I need it.
You may have liked something
by accident.
10 years. No, you may have liked something by accident 10 years ago that now is like, we can't talk about that now. We can't talk, because of whatever.
Can you undo it?
Yes. And what this does, it's with consent. It goes through. It gives you a whole report. I mean, we've done all of our stuff, and there was some interesting.
You found things.
Yeah. So we found some profanities, right? So swear words, and I spoke to one of the chaps, and I was like, wow, that's quite a lot on there. And what it was is, and we found some. It was like not. It was what was it termed? Hate type speech, right?
Hate, yeah.
And when looked at it, it was Ricky Gervais is quite an animal rights.
Yes, that's right.
He loves animals.
Yes.
And there was some of his posts had swear words in there against
they were
activists and whatever else. And those posts were liked. So this tool flagged all of those up. So which is good, right? So if you're going if you're in the employment market and you're looking for a new job, I'd definitely screen, because your employer's going to screen you. So you may as well screen yourself just to make sure you're clean. And if you're not clean...
It's like a credit check, but different on another level. This is a fascinating thing. Okay, everyone's got to do this
social media check.
Media check, and just check your footprint and don't do anything crazy in the first place. I was going to ask you about certain industries that are more likely to do this investigative work, but I think it's pretty clear. I think, the high-profile individuals, the high-profile decision makers, that sort of thing. Probably not your regular employers, not going to really care to that extent.
What with the pre-employment?
Yeah, with just general checking up on you, general background.
Even anyone who's employing anyone, because the pre-employment check is relatively cheap, quick process to do. So even anyone who's employing anyone should have that as their onboarding. You need to check who's working for you.
So this isn't a sort of crossing the line grey area. This is like a recommended.
Yep.
Like you are, yes, there's your CV, and then there's, like you're saying, there's all the stuff that you've been doing online. We need to know what you're doing online. Yeah.
The online is optional, I would say, depending on the industry you're in, right? You don't need to go that deep, but anything in terms of checking the person's got the right to work in the UK has,
obviously the basics.
You would need to do this. And again, those pre-employment checks are proportionate and scale up to depending on what type of industry you're in.
Depending on what you're doing. Yeah, okay, because it's like the politics side and the business side, those two collide, and that's just a ginormous requirement.
Very senior people in the public eye. So, there's their whole careers are scrutinised. Every
single thing.
Word. They have communication teams, media teams, advisory teams, strategic teams. It's not them as one individual. There's a whole team that support.
Yeah, they've got PR teams. Of course they do.
But then on the other side of that, you've got other teams, individuals and whatever else, even members of the public, looking at every tiny little thing that anyone in the public domain or in the public eye, does, and has an open platform, a free open platform, social media channels, to post, tweet, comment, describe what they've seen. So you could say you saw a politician say X on television, and we could do it now. You could go onto your social media account and say, I just saw he said that. What do you guys think? This was, and you can create a narrative or a movement on something that you've just seen online, on television. So it's a really, really weird world we live in now.
Yeah. I mean, I think private individuals don't really, well, even me, just thinking about it, we don't really give ourselves enough protection in that way to do our own screening and to just, because like you're saying, these big presidents and politicians, whoever, these guys, big corporates, they've got teams that look out for them, that tell them what to say, how to say it, that protect them if something does go wrong, reputation management. It's like an entire office buildings of people just working to protect their reputation.
Correct.
Online and offline, helping them, guiding them, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, how you should behave, sit, talk, everything. And then you've got everyone else who's kind of left, it's almost like naked, and you've got to cope and know how to survive.
Yeah.
But with these platforms that can also come in and, scrutinize you, attack you,
Yeah.
And also being on reality TV, once you get a platform, then already you're in that realm, but you might not have the protection necessarily,
Completely.
or the skills or whatever it is. It's quite rough.
Yeah, you do what you think's right.
Yeah.
But then in defense to that, usually what's happening now is today's news is not relevant tomorrow because there's something else and there's something else and there's so much out there. So unless you're being targeted. So
unless you're being targeted
by a group who will continue to push a narrative. So, and this is what happens at the top end. Look at what's going on globally, So I think for the individual, whilst there isn't that much protection in place, and it is a little bit of self-learning because you can, I think as you evolve in the public eye from the ground up, you will make mistakes and you learn the hard way, right?
You do.
So, and it takes a certain type of individual to absorb what's going on and either let it filter through to you or not, or block, just distance yourself from it. But if that's the decision and journey you're taking, you need to be aware of the risks.
Yeah. Yeah. And there there are definitely risks, and there's also massive benefits. So yes, we spoke about suppressing damaging information. I mean, if you want to find out if someone's sort of like spying on you, whatever, you can hire someone to check, like someone doing that. But also suppressing information. So have you been asked to sort of, they don't really investigate here, but just don't let this thing come out about me or my company or whatever? Have you been done to do that?
That's more PR. That's more PR strategy and pushing, say, comments that have been posted out there, down the line in Google. That's where investigators, we uncover, we don't.
So you would uncover, let's say that, because let's just say a company, something's happened and your client wants to, they will have the PR team to obviously damage control, let's say, if that does come out, but really we don't want it to come out. So we want to investigate what's going on there on this particular subject. Is it coming out? Who spoke, who said what, who's released documents, anything like that.
Yeah, we've worked with PR teams before. So there could be something about to break, or there's been an issue, or there's a leak. It's uncovering the leak and who's the insider threat.
Who's the mole?
Who's the mole, right? Yeah, who's the insider threat? And there are a few ways to tackle that.
Okay, so how would you tackle it?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah, go on. How do you find the mole?
So there usually is some type of intelligence or lead that we need to go through from, and it's usually what type of information is coming out, where's it being leaked. So we may need to check the internal systems. There could be, I don't know, emails or communications between what's going on in that particular office and someone externally. There could be a disgruntled employee that's left that's recently but still very good friends with someone that works for the office, and there's some sharing of data or a narrative that, I don't know, was started and then stopped. There's usually some pinch points that we would look at as leads. That gives us something. If there isn't, which generally there is, but if there isn't, then we would look at what type of narrative's coming out. What is it? Is there emails being sent to someone, or what journalist has received this breaking story and how? And then the journalist usually would ask the client to say, right, we've received this. Can you comment on X? And that's where their PR team would speak to the client and advise them on how to respond to a journalist. We would, if possible, ask for the request of what they've been sent and see whether we could find any information there that can try and connect the dots backwards. But yeah, so
connecting
dots there.
Oh, because I just thought back to a story actually that my husband told me about. This is way before he met me, but about an obsessive woman that, because in those days he used to be a bit of a, go out, lad, whatever, which is fair. You're a young man, you're not married. You can, just live your life, please. Get it out your system. And he met this woman who became obsessive about him. And initially it was quite nice. Oh, you're obsessed with me. Give me all this attention. But then it's a bit like, okay, just, and he tried to go off and live his life and meet someone else. And obviously she wasn't having any of it. So she would do things like the sort of the red flag symbols were already there. Like she would plant a hair of hers, on a bed sheet in case and someone else might go in one day. It started with those red flags, in case another woman came in and go, oh, whose hair is that? This is, brunette's hair and I'm blonde, whatever, those sort of things. It's like so obvious. But she would start doing that. But then it went on to more serious things. Then there was things like sending an email, to several people within the company saying, oh, he did this and he's like that. And then, but like, stepping it up. So you've got those sort of things, which, again, private individuals have to deal with. And of course, politicians deal with it on to the highest level. But it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's basically the same thing. It's people trying to plant dirt on you or ruin your reputation or whatever, in which case it would be beneficial.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't hire necessarily a private international investigator, PI, to deal with that, but
You'd be surprised.
It would be nice to.
You'd be surprised.
Someone sinister like that.
Yeah, we've done several cases like that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, where that is borderline harassment.
Totally.
And it depends on exactly that. So we would document what's out there, and there are legal remedies for that. There is a legal cease and desist, because that's you're breaking the law there. So if you continue to harass, spread misinformation, communicate with third parties, damage someone's reputation, defamation,
It's jealousy. Yeah.
For whatever reason, it could be jealousy. It could be that she can't move on. She predicted this life with your husband years ago.
Emotionally immature.
Well,
whatever you want to call it.
Just
inability to take it's a no. Yeah. I mean, get a cat. Cats will teach you about rejection, right?
There you go. Yeah.
It's okay.
But maybe someone like that once it goes from this keyboard warrior scenario to a legal letter, you've cease and desist further communication, or XYZ is going to happen. It sometimes is a wake-up call to say, you know what, I really didn't realise that I was doing what I was doing.
Absolutely.
I've got to step away. Or if they're completely, out there and crazy and want to pursue this, then you go line by line with what options are available to get this individual to stop.
Okay, let's talk about consequences. Consequences of actions. So has there ever been a case that made you rethink, your career, that made you think about ethics, that sort of touched you on that level, where you've been encountered with something that's made you go, huh?
Anything to do with children, to be honest with you. And I'm talking about either locating one that's been abducted legally. When I say legally, no, it's not legally abducted.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
But it's usually
literally abducted, taken away.
Usually in family situations where you have, I don't know, one, the relationship's broken down, and one is from a different jurisdiction and one is from a different jurisdiction, and one wants to take the kids, and there's a legal dispute and battle, and one just says, we're off and we're going to wherever, and you're never going to find me, and that's it.
That's
and done.
Tough.
So there's an issue in court going on, and you're dealing with maybe jurisdictions that are not as westernized in terms of legal processes, and you've got one parent with custody legally that's not being. Those are tough cases.
That's horrible. Yeah. And then you've got the little person.
Of course you have. So those cases.
And you're a dad, and that's horrible.
Anything like that can be quite challenging in terms of we've got to do the right thing.
The right thing.
For the right reasons, under the right circumstances.
And the right thing is the right thing for one person is not the right thing for the other.
Completely. And
child.
We're not the decision maker, right? We are there to provide the information to maybe the legal teams or the courts to say, well, look, this is actually where they are, and now we'll deal with local authorities to try and recover and whatever else. So anything like that, and anything where let's say there's a bit. I mean, I've spoken about it. I worked on a case. It must have been about 10 years ago, where the family were from Canada, and the daughter was 18. She met a boy online through one of these platforms, who knows, and they started to communicate. He was in the UK. She'd never been outside Canada. She wasn't in any education. She was at a loose end. She was 18-year-old and living her life and whatever else. Family were not super wealthy, but they were okay. They were doing well. Mum and dad, lovely people. She just booked a plane ticket. He said he wanted to see her. They had this online relationship for about 6 months where they would just chat via a platform which is not around anymore. This was just as WhatsApp launched. And she ended up deciding to come to the UK by herself. Never travelled alone. And when she got to the UK, she said to her dad, "It's okay, he's booked me in a hotel. Here's the hotel booking." She came to the UK. Her phone wouldn't work in the UK, right? So the mum and dad couldn't contact her. They had no communication. They came to us. They were really worried.
Yes.
She's 18, so she's an adult. She's got the right to her own privacy. So I thought,
right.
I'll tell you what we'll do to the mum and dad. Let me just send a couple of investigators to sniff around the hotel just to make sure she's checked in and safe, like an alive and well check. Got to the hotel and the booking was cancelled, and
no sign of her.
No sign of her. She didn't check in. So you can imagine now what's going on, right?
As a parent, I would be losing my mind. Okay.
Right. You're on a flight to London, right? From Canada.
Immediately.
So, but where'd you go, right? We had no idea where she is. Her phone wasn't working because it's an international phone, and back then, and all of the sort of basic things that we take for granted. The mum and dad, I had long conversations with both of them to understand, because I needed to understand what happened before. And, there was that teenage breakdown chat, that we've got teenagers, we've all been through there, although mine are past teenagers except for one. But they had that, she was rebelling a little bit, and she wanted to be her own person, independent, and I know what I'm doing, and I don't. And she just got up and left, and she met this guy, and he said all the right things, so we actually mounted a full-on investigation to try. We were worried for her safety then, right? Because
she's disappeared.
So we had the authorities involved.
Gosh.
And in the end, we tracked the guy, because he made the booking and then cancelled it. And through the booking that he made, the hotel were quite helpful, because we were like, look, it's an 18-year-old from a different country. There's da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we ended up connecting some dots.
Yes.
And found that he was part of this, what do you call them, like movement of, like, not is it an anarchist? They were in this disused flat, or with all sorts of graffiti sprayed on the wall, just like, I don't know. It's like a group, like it's not a gang. It was like a group of free spirited,
hippie-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she got, got mixed up in that, in a squatting type facility.
Okay. Yeah, not good.
We found all of that. We got the authorities involved, and told the father. I mean, he was like, I can't believe you found her. Is she okay?
Yes.
It's like, yes, she's fine. We've got her. Brilliant. Can you get... Anyway, so in the end, we got her repatriated back. She was actually happy to go home, because she got involved in this situation far too deep.
Yes.
And didn't see a way out. She was like, this wasn't what I was promised, but where am I going to go now? There's all drinks. She wasn't
involved, speaking to her parents.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a breakdown. She tried to be this independent. So we went through a whole emotion. You talk about emotion. That's a whole emotional
very emotional
journey. And then about, I don't know, 6 months later, the dad sent me a picture of their family all together. So nice.
You could have saved her life potentially, because who knows what she was doing in that hippie cave.
Well, luckily, it's the mum. I think it's the mother and father that saved her life.
Okay.
Because they took action and contacted us.
Oh, it's the right thing to do.
So
100%.
They went to the police. They went to the Canadian police. They'd done all they did locally, but then they'd come in at loose ends. So anyway,
Mike and Conflict International team, useful contact to have if you ever land up in hot water like that. But obviously, it must have a mental toll on yourself. You're a dad, so how do you handle that? How does your team handle it? How do you tell them to sort of separate work from?
That's really tough sometimes, and it depends on what people are going through. But you say we're all human, and you try and block out what's going on through someone's world. However, you are their confidant at their most low time. So for me, that's why my job isn't 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I answer my phone all the time. I mean, it rang 3 o'clock in the morning last night. I was like, and it's a client, because I put the alerts on for clients and family only. So anyone else that calls, it goes to thing.
Wow, so your client's on the level of your family.
If I've got a live case, then because and
it's incredible.
They're going through stuff that they've probably not discussed with the people closest to them. And that information about their personal life that no one else probably knows in their circle. So
I mean seriously, do you do yoga? Like, what do you do to what do you
do? I do triathlons. I run, I swim, and I run. I run and bike. Yeah,
that's gonna
there
help.
You go. That's what I do.
Sweat out there. You sweat it
Punish myself.
punish yourself. That's the only way. You've got to do that, because otherwise you go crazy. Like,
Exactly.
you will literally get too absorbed, especially if they're calling you at 3:00. But have you ever had to walk away from a case?
There can be occasions that you do, especially when a client has, is doing it for the wrong reasons, and we've done what we needed to do, and there is nothing more we can do. We can. I've turned stuff down. You have to
give us an example if you can.
Well, when you've got someone where their motive isn't necessarily what they first initially wanted it to be, or you've closed the case and they want to continue.
They want more.
For the wrong
Obsessed.
reasons. Yeah, destroying someone because we've won, but there's winning and closing, and then there's inappropriate continuation.
Yes.
So you've got to know, as an investigator, that's the judgment at the beginning. You've got to know what you're doing it for and why, and when. So
you walk away from that, yeah. Because remember, I said we'll come back to the addictions. I've got a question here. It's what does it look like when someone becomes too addicted to this whole surveillance thing? And it must be an obsession, an addiction with some, or you could get hooked. It's almost like now that you know, you want to know more, you can use it now on that person or on that person. So that's also something that you must be dealing with a lot to try and manage.
Yeah. Again, so that's why you need to onboard someone properly in the first place, and you're doing the case and the investigation for a reason. And once that reason has been identified and reported on, that case is closed unless there's something else that's happened. You can't continue it, because that's stalking and harassment. You can't just follow someone forever for your pleasure, for your voyeurism pleasure. But
there must be clients that want to, right?
Of course there are.
There are. Okay.
Especially
and
those
they've got the money to throw at it as well.
With the resources. They want to monitor whoever they're monitoring forever.
You've got to have morals, ethics of steel to do the job you do.
Every investigator has this moral compass, and during the case it does this all the time because and you manage that. That's part of being skilled and experienced as an investigator, to keep that.
Where do you get your values, your ethics from? Do you have religion? Are you religious? Are you spiritual? Like, what keeps you?
Am I religious? I suppose I am religious. I come from. Where are we going with this? This is like just so
wherever you want. We have no boundaries in this podcast.
I think
it's a straight up question.
Yeah. No, I get it. I affiliate myself with some of the biggest leaders in the industry and some of the mentors before me. So I give back. I'm out there in the open, so there's no, so my moral compass is there, my reputation is there, so it's there to be looked and challenged. So whatever you do on a daily basis, regardless of whether it's speaking to a client, your interactions here, online, is you're going to be judged. And for me, I keep my moral compass extremely focused, clean and focused on what I'm trying to do. I love this industry and I give back. So that's why I sit on non-profit association boards to give back to the industry, So that
you really need to have it in line and straight, because the temptations that come from all of the money and the types of clients that I know that you're dealing with, the temptation, you really cannot be weak morally. You can't be one of those people that gets like a little feather being blown around by the fad, the money, the pressure, whatever.
The other thing I've found is with powerful clients is if you stand up and provide the right support for the right reasons and justify your position, you earn a lot more respect. And that's in my experience. If you just say yes, can you do it? Yes. You're not challenging your client in terms of providing them the optimum result. So
you're not helping them by allowing them that dark rabbit hole.
Just
off
do
you
that.
Go.
Yeah. Off you go.
Do surveillance.
I've told you to do that. You just do that.
Yeah.
You end up. You're not a effective solution provider. You've just become another tool in their arsenal. So if you want to provide an effective solution, that's why I want to speak to the ultimate client. I'd rather speak to the main decision maker rather than aides, advisors, support staff, because this happens, the Chinese whisper, by the time it gets back to the client, just tell them to do that. And then I'd rather just give me 5 minutes and we'll clear this all up.
Yeah. Just stepping into this one more. It's if you look at your sort of baseline values and ethics that you've got, did you get them from your parents? Did you get them, like, how did you build your core values?
So my father's Italian, my mother's Spanish. So I'm from a Mediterranean background.
Yeah.
And family was very important to us growing up. And for me, everything that was taught to me at a young age is nothing's given to you. You've got to go out there and work for it. And how you work for it is up to you. And all those steps from a young age, being from parents that were from different countries coming to the UK with no infrastructure, it was, you had to fight for your reputation and your position. And that hard-working ethical mentality back then had just been drilled into me from a young age.
You're fighting for your clients now.
Yeah.
You're still fighting.
Yeah, I still fight for my clients.
Yeah. And were your parents strict with you?
Yeah. My dad was
no nonsense.
strict. Yeah. I've got to say, he's a Sicilian man, so not much.
Because I can
him.
tell that a little bit when speaking with you, and I like that there's a no nonsense approach where there's truth, there's fact, there's no room for wishy-washy anything, and like I said, you're the right person for this kind of industry because you've got to be solid in that way. If there's any weakness and cracks in your values, in your ethics, in the strictness of what you need to do to deliver for your clients, to work hard for your clients so that they have the best for them, which is what your parents instilled in you. If that's not correct, everything crumbles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mike, it's been terrific having
you on.
Thank
Aleksandra.
you so much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.